Hi friends, this is Bilal Haider and this is the second part of this video series. In this video series we will be learning about constant values and variables. Alright, so the first thing which I want to do is open up my text editor, and the second thing which I want to do, I will create a new directory on my desktop and I will put all my Ruby codes in this directory. Alright, so we will be creating code in our text editor and then we will execute it in this terminal. So let's first open our folder so that we can create a file inside of it. Now let's create a new file. Let's call it main.rb. So every time you create a Ruby file, a Ruby program, it will end with .rb extension, and that's a Ruby program. Alright, so we have created the file. Before learning about constant values and variables, let's first print a message on our terminals in our terminal to make sure everything is working. So hello world. Alright, we save this and we come in. There you go. So everything works. Alright, so every time you want to display a message on your terminal, let's say you have created a service that sends a message to a server every 5 minutes, and you want to display a message in your terminal every time that program which you have created that sends a message to some server. So every time it sends a message to server, it displays you in your terminal. So that's something where you can use this puts statement. Alright, it can be used for displaying results, so we'll use it for testing out our things. Alright, now let's talk about constant values. So every value which you whenever we create some software, we need to store some constant values here and there, maintain those values, manipulate those values up there and send those values to somewhere else. We play with values all the time in Ruby, so that's why we need to learn about them. So a constant value is nothing but any number. Okay, any number is a constant value. 1 2 3 4 5 6, a million, 1 billion, 1 trillion, and also the real numbers like 1.32, 4.7, these type of values which are constant values. Alright, and there are also string constants as well. So remember we printed we displayed this message on our screen. So this string or this text which you see inside double quotes, this is also a constant value. Alright, like hello world, when it's written inside double quotes, it's never going to change. Okay, it will stay hello world for the rest of the life as long as this program stays. Alright, so of course I can delete it here, but when you will, like if you have written a constant value inside double quotes, it will be constant throughout the program. Whenever you will execute that program, that constant value will still be there. Alright, so now you know what are constant values. All the numbers, whether they're natural numbers, whole numbers, or real numbers, they are all constant values. Alright, and also string constants, which we saw here, like text, like the character A, when it's written inside double quotes, it's a string constant. Inside single quote, if you write it, it is a string constant. Alright, and if you like write a whole story in here, like a story which consisting upon many words, then that's also a constant string value. Alright, okay, now let's talk about variables. Variables are something that hold these constant values. Alright, variables are very important because let's say we want to hold a person's age. Alright, let's create a variable. That's how you create a variable. Just type just give your variable a name and set it equal to something like 27. Alright, and let's say you store a person's age in a variable. Alright, you want to create a program that reminds a person, that wishes a person his birthday on his whenever his age is increased. Alright, so what we need to do, we need to store his age value inside a variable, and then we can update it, change it, manipulate it. So that's why we use variables. Like, we put a constant value inside a variable, and that variable holds that value until we change it inside a program. Alright, so let's see. Let's first display it in here, so you know what I'm saying. Ruby man. So you see, we get the result 27. Alright, that's because this age is a variable and it is holding this value 27. Alright, now let's do one thing. Let's change this age value to 28. Alright, and now let's put age once again. I'm just showing you this because variables are something that that can hold a value, and if you want to change that value, you need to do it inside a variable. If it's the value is inside a variable, then you can change that variable's value, and then you display that variable on screen or do whatever with it. So that's why variables are important, because they can hold constant values that can be changed later on whenever it is needed. Alright, so this was pretty much all about constants and variables. This variable which I have I've shown you here, these are called local variables. We don't need to worry about anything else. If you want to create a variable inside Ruby, just type variable's name, let's say planet. Planet is a variable and it is holding a value called Earth. Right, now let's display this on our screen, and we need to execute our program, and it displays us Earth. Alright, now let's say we want to change this planet variable's value to something else. How can we do that? we type planet once again and change its value to Mars. Alright, now again print this variable's value on screen, and that's now we got first the planet's value was Earth, so it displayed Earth. Then we later on changed its value to Mars, and now it's displaying Mars. Alright, so variable will help us in storing values, and we will be using them to update values. I'm saying same thing again and again just to make it clear to you what are variables. Alright, now before I leave this video, I want you to think of any values that you want to store inside a variable. Think of any value, maybe anything. It's just your imagination. Think about any values you want to store inside variables and put them in the description of this video. Just tell me what you want to store inside of a variable, and tell me like show me some creative things in comments. So this is pretty much all for this video. You learned what are constants, what are variables, how to define variables, how to write constant, how to display them. That's pretty much it. So stay tuned, see you in next video.